challenges you face in these scenarios. Everyone has different, and you can have different ways to conquer. What I'm showing here, in all of these things, the challenges you face in these scenarios, everyone has different, and you can have different ways.
Introduce yourself, if you don't mind, your age. I don't know.
My age, yeah. I'm 45. Well, actually, that's a lie. I'll be 45 in a month or two. But my background is I've been a professional photographer for most of my adult life, and a sort of glass artist in the background in terms of it's always been my hobby. And when COVID happened, and it meant that I couldn't sort of be a professional photographer anymore because I was mainly on location, I ended up my job sort of migrated into a desk job, and I didn't like it. So I sort of started with this channel. I suppose I sort of done it because I needed a creative outlet. I needed to do stuff to use my hands again, and started it in January 2020. So none of the lockdown stuff had actually happened yet. But my job, I hadn't sort of been away on location for a little while and was getting a little bit restless. So wanted to do something that was not just, I suppose, the hobby that I did in my shed, but actually do something and put it out there. And that gave me a sort of bit of a kick up the arse to do a bit more, I suppose, Yeah, although I would be doing this with my spare time, it was kind of when people were feeding back to me that they wanted me to show them how to do something particular, that meant that I just had that sort of drive to do that, I suppose.
Sure. Did you go to school for photography?
I got a degree in graphic design, and the major, I don't know if it's major or minor, but it's the specialty subject is photography. So degree is graphic design, specialising in photography, and I got that degree in 2004. So I was quite a late starter. I didn't do very well at school, ended leaving school with no grades. I ended up being a barber for a while. So I did a sort of apprenticeship as a barber, did that, realised it wasn't for me after a while, and then went back to college to do the equivalent of my school exams, and then did the equivalent of A levels. So I don't know what the equivalent is in America.
So how did you come upon the glass art?
It started completely by accident because my father-in-law he's been quite a big influence in all of the things I've sort of done like that, because he's just got a shed full of tools. He's really kind of enthusiastic and just said, let's try and make something. And one day he just bought a sandblaster, and he basically wanted to recondition some alloy wheels that were on a car that we had, rather than buy new alloys, which would have been cheaper. He thought it'd be more fun to buy a sandblaster and then just sandblast them. So I, after seeing it, just took some bits of glass around there and some mirrors, and then was experimenting and ended up figuring out my way of making mirrors, which was to use sort of a vinyl mask on the back of a mirror, sandblast the coating off, and then that was that. And that's how I got into it. And I sort of hit a wall the fact that I was like, right, I don't really know what else I can do. And then a friend of mine shared a video of Dave Smith's video where he made the John Mayer, the album art. And as soon as I saw that and saw what you could do with it, I was like hooked. And then I saw that he did a course. And I mean, Dave's from the UK, so, it's very lucky having the best reverse glass artist in the world.
Yeah.
Same country as you. I mean, he is at the other end of the country, but I mean, for some people, they travel from right across the other side of the world. So at the time, my wife bought me for Christmas a one-day course. So I went down there, learned the basics, and I learned acid etching, how to apply gold leaf, so gilding, and a bit of reverse painting. And sorry, you're going to ask me a question.
So when you first picked up the glass, you had no instruction at all. It was just a curiosity. You had a sandblaster. You had some pieces of glass laying around, and you put this together on your own.
Yeah, that was it. So I figured my own sort of thing out, which I hesitate to say it's my method because I'm sure other people have done it before, and sort of figured that out. But once I'd seen what else you could do, I went to learn what I could based on it within one day. At the time, the course Dave does, which is 100% worth every penny. But the full course, which is I think 3 or 4 days, is a few £1,000, and at the time we couldn't afford that, so could afford a 1 day course, and I learned what I could in that 1 day. And then as soon as I came back, was just researching trial and error things like that. So like things like glue chipping, which I've seen some of the glue chip pieces you've made.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't learn on that course, and I learned through finding old stuff on the internet, like just buying different glues and trying them out till I got to my
That's amazing.
perfected.
Wow,
So.
that's amazing. It's amazing that you started without any really even knowing probably that there was such a thing as glass art, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you grow up in Norway?
I didn't grow up in Norwich, but I've lived here my whole adult life. I'm from a place which is about a 2 hour drive from here, so I suppose in American terms that is up the road. For us, that's quite a mission.
Yeah.
But
yeah, sure.
yeah, it's a place. I'm from a place called Peterborough, which is not very nice.
Is that where the tattoos come from?
My tattoos were, none of them mean anything. They're all a vanity thing from my youth, So
yeah,
a lot of people have things like, this is from this point in my life. This reminds me of this. Like mine are just stupid ones from when I was, a teenager. I've got some really, really bad ones on my legs because I bought a tattoo gun off eBay years ago, probably about 2004, I think, or 2005. Didn't know how to use it, but because I can draw, I thought I'll be able to do tattoos. Didn't know how deep the needle should go. Then I practiced on my thighs. My thighs have got terrible tattoos all over them. One of them as well, because I moved to Norfolk from Cambridgeshire, and I love Norfolk. It's a beautiful county.
Yeah.
Of one of my tattoos, I was drunk and I wrote "Norfolk is the tits" on my. And my wife, well, at the time, my girlfriend was at work, and when she came back from work, I said, "Oh, I've done a tattoo. You'll like this." And she just looked at me and said, "Why would I like that? That's the stupidest tattoo I've ever seen."
Do you think growing up in Norwich had an influence on your art at all? Or?
I don't think so. I think, I mean, the reason I moved to Norwich was to go to art school, so I was learning graphic design and photography. So I was in and around. It's a beautiful city, and it's a really progressive city. It's got 3 universities. Where I was from up the road, Peterborough. They had an opportunity of getting a university or a prison, and they chose a prison. And it's an absolute.
Oh man!
And it's one of them places where you just think the only nights out are crappy club nights where there's just the same people out every night and there's trouble. When I came to Norwich, and it's like whatever you're into, whatever your scene is, there's a night of the week for it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
any trouble, really nice, beautiful, old school city, lovely. The oldest pub in Norwich is from the 12th century, the Adam and Eve.
Wow.
Here that are over 1,000 years old. Is that not 1,000? 800 years old or something like that. But it's real historical, beautiful sort of city with just everything around you. Just is quite inspiring, I suppose. It's a little place that just got so I'm sure moving here, I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing this if I still lived in Peterborough. I just would have ended up doing whatever there because there's no outlet for any sort of creativity there. So coming here was definitely, even though it wasn't the thing that I studied, it was certainly something that being around other artists and creative people in a place where expression is encouraged of all kinds, certainly. Yeah. But I mean, going back to it, I still didn't know glass art like this on this level existed until I saw Dave's video about the making of the John Mayer artwork.
So who would you say once you learned about the glass art and stuff? Oh, by the way,
did your parents have an art background?
No, they're not at all. My granddad was very artistic, but he's the only person in the family who I know. And I've got three brothers. None of them are creative at all. My mum and To be fair, is she does quilting, you know, like American style quilting.
Yeah, yeah.
She loves it, and the things she makes are amazing. They're obviously the sort of thing that take like months on end. So I can't say she's not creative because
Right.
stuff she makes is amazing. But I think, you know, I don't think she could do it with if she wasn't following a pattern that was, say, done by someone else. Whereas, so
Right.
there's maybe a different level. But yeah, in general, no, just my granddad is the only person I know of in my family with a real, maybe artistic flair, I suppose.
Oh, your mom sounds like where I'm at with a glass art. But I need a design.
Like I said to you earlier, that there's never been a better time, you know, because nowadays people are selling designs. People are, you know, the Kittle platform where you can access a template, put your own words in, put your own, you know, sort of stamp on it is amazing.
Make it your own. Yeah, and then my problem with drawing, I'm hoping to make up for it with screen printing. So I've been waiting. I know you mentioned you were going to do a video, I think, on screen. Do you still intend on
I'm nearly ready to do it. I've had to strip my screen, get all the materials, and that is again the Heritage Crafts giving me the funds to be able to do it, because it's not so much that it's expensive, but it's expensive to keep trying. You know, like with my mirror silvering video. So I know it's a bit of a tangent, but with the mirror silvering video, that took me a long time and a lot of silver to get it right. And the screen printing as well is, I'm not a screen printer, so I've had to kind of, you know, follow tutorials to learn how to do the kind of exposure and all of that sort of stuff. So I just at the time couldn't afford to just buy a load of stuff. Experiment until I got it right, in case I didn't, because you're like, well, that's then hundreds of pounds down the drain, you know, and everything out of it. So the Heritage Craft thing really did help me to, allow me to do the sort of the videos that I've been doing lately. Like the most recent one about gold leaf. There's no way could have afforded that amount of gold leaf, you know, even with the Patreon support and stuff like that. That was just so expensive, but grant to do it is amazing.
How did that recognition from the Heritage Society actually happen?
It was one of my patrons, actually, a guy called Rob Kimber, who he's on Instagram. His name's Rat Street Boy. His artwork's amazing. I'd seen him before I'd even started doing this stuff, and he messaged me on Facebook and said, you know, you can get a grant from the Heritage Craft Fund if you apply for it. And I didn't know it at all. So I looked into it, applied. The grant was up to a couple of £1,000 per person. And they said, how much do you need? And I sort of thought about it and thought I'd probably need about £800 to do the videos that I really want to do, you know. And I was successful. Of one of the few applicants that was successful, and they gave me I think £850.
Excellent.
£150 straight away was right. I spent £400 on gold leaf, bought all of the kit for the screen printing. You know, So it went straight away. But again, it's allowed me to make content that I was never likely to be able to afford.
Well, that's for the pandemic, not really, but that's what got you here. And I mean, obviously, you had a huge influence on folks. I think when I started, you might have had maybe 300 or 400 people in that face group.
There's just now with just over 1,300. I do get what you're saying. You know, every cloud has a silver lining, and if it wasn't for lockdown and me being unhappy in my work, I wouldn't have done it.
So once you got onto the glass art, I know you kind of found that through Dave Smith. Would you say he's your biggest influence, or who are your biggest influences?
In terms of sort of, I suppose, trying new things, pushing the boundaries, aiming for something, it's got to be Dave Smith, you know, because there's no one in the world, and I know there are people who are amazing, way, way better than I am, but I still think he's in a league of his own. And I think when you look at the work he does, and then you just think, I want to learn how to do that stuff. You know, I'm going to try, and I'm probably never going to get to that level. But that when you see someone that good, that makes you kind of push to get that good. So in terms of what's possible, the technical ability, the beauty of all of the things that are possible, yeah, that he would be my biggest influence. In terms of the actual practical side of things, I'd say the biggest influence ever has been my father-in-law. He's a 65-year-old lorry driver, and he's the most free spirit you'll ever meet in your life, you know, and he just like, he's got this opinion, this sort of outlook, which is very similar to my wife's, which is, it's her dad, which is, why would you pay someone to do something if you can do it yourself? You know, and I'm not of that thought. I would be like, if I can't be bothered to do something, I'd rather pay someone to do it. He's got this thing of like, no, I want to know how to do it. I'm going to buy the tools to do it, and I'm going to make it myself, you know. So I was never like that till I, you know, met my wife and met him and went round there. And then every time we go round his, which is probably every other weekend for a Sunday dinner or something, we're always out in the garage, and he's always like got a new tool that we can play with and try out, you know. So I certainly have ever learned a thing about it if it wasn't for him, and just him just sort of opening up my sort of possibilities to a whole new world of just, yeah, give it a go, have a go with that.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah. Cool. Do you like have a mentor or a coach?
I wouldn't say I got a mentor, but very recently, my last video about the gold leaf, when I mentioned a guy called Joe Balabuska. So just before Christmas, he'd got in contact with me because he'd found the channel and he really liked it. And I said, oh, I've got a channel only with a few videos on. And I watched his few videos and they were amazing. You know, this is someone who's done stuff I've never done. You know, I've done a lot of commissions, but I do them all from my house. Like, I've never worked on site. I've never gilded a shop front or anything like that. And he has, you know, he's a veteran of the trade, way better than I am. And then we had a FaceTime call before Christmas, and it was lovely. You know, I had a few beers, and we were chatting away, and he was sharing so much info. And then as soon as I'd made the video, the gold leaf one that I just released, I wanted to run it by him first because, you know, I mentioned him a lot. I was using a couple of his techniques. So I said again, do you want to catch up? So we caught up, had another chat, and I think I've learned more from him in the last probably 30 days than I've learned from anyone in the last 5 years.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's, I learned the most I've ever learned off Dave Smith. Obviously, I did his course, and he taught me the fundamentals of it. But I mean, the stuff that I learned off Joe, just from someone being a veteran, you know, working on site, all of that, taught me so much. And I'd said to him last time we spoke, which was only a couple of days ago, I said, you should add more to your channel because you've got the stuff I can't do. I've never worked on site. I don't know the things, all the troubles you're going to encounter when, you know, you're there on a windy day or in something where people are walking through and you've got to use the most delicate thing known to man. You know, I'd say maybe not quite a mentor, or certainly not yet, but I hope just keep catching up with him and learning from him. Yeah. And lovely, really genuinely lovely bloke. When you see him, he's really sort of active on the Facebook group and comments on a lot of people.
That book he recommended, the sketchbook.
Noel Weber's sketchbook. Yeah.
Well, I watched his videos as well, and one of the things that really caught my eye, and he never did the video because I went to look for it. Like you said, he's only got a few. He was talking about screen printing on the glass sideways. He said he was going to show us how to do that, so I went to try to find that video, but it's not there.
He hasn't done it. He mentioned that last time we spoke a couple of days ago, but these people, like, say, Noel Weber, who done the sketchbook, Joe, they are people who work, you know, help Dave Smith in his sort of apprenticeship and things like that. You know, they're like, having people like that in the group, you know, I set it up so that I could give what little knowledge I have to people who are learning, you know, but then what happened is, you know, people who are way more knowledgeable than I am have joined and are giving their info, and that's amazing. Do you know what I mean? To have access to people like Felix is on there. He's one of the best in the world out of Chicago, Illumination Art and Design. He's an absolutely lovely bloke as well. Rod Treese is on there, Noel Weber, Dave Smith, Anne McDonald, Joe Balabusco. There's probably missing people, but these are like your best in the world glass artists who are now
Yeah.
on my little Facebook group dishing out advice, and that's just an amazing thing. I think I'm so happy with it, and I think it is that, like, you know, everyone there is trying to do something new, better, you know, enhance the skills they've got or learn new skills, and it's a lovely community. You know, a lovely
Yeah.
community of people
Fantastic.
who, even before I'd set that group up, and when I was a complete novice and I put myself out on Instagram, it was people like, say, Sean Michael Felix and Dave Smith, who were like commenting on my work and sort of saying, yeah, man, you know, giving you the encouragement you need, because it is, every piece you make will be better than the last, because you'll have learned something from the last piece, and that you won't make either that mistake again, or you'll try to be a bit more daring with it. And
Yeah.
you know, having them on there, yeah, I hope it doesn't become a daunting place because of the talent or the sort of veterans that are on there, because you know they're there for a reason. They know. Say, I know Rod has got a page for glass artists, and he's one of the best in the world, and the people who are on there, that's probably one of those ones where you've got some of your real experienced people uploading stuff. It's
Yeah.
more daunting. I want mine to be somewhere where people who have never even heard of it before are comfortable to come on there and ask questions, and I try my best to respond when I can. But now there's so many people on there. There's like 10
Right.
responses by the time I log on in the morning. So it's
Right.
in itself.
Well, it is a very open community, and it is very encouraging, right? And the encouragement for a new person is great, because I have yet to make a piece that I'm really completely satisfied with. So having the encouragement and having other people like the folks you mentioned say, "Hey, that's a nice piece. Wow, that's a really good
And
help."
if it helps, I've never made a piece I'm 100% satisfied with either. You know.
Oh, really? Oh, that is good to
Because
hear.
I know
Really?
everything that's gone wrong with it that no one will see, unless people don't look at these things with a magnifying glass. I could show you around it. I did a video a while ago, but first year, which showed the flaws of a load of pieces that I've made.
Yeah.
I'd rate them, but I could do that with every single piece I've made. Show you the little bit that went wrong, or the thing that I'd do differently next time. So that's a good thing. You know, if you ever make a thing that you think is perfect, you've probably given up. I don't know, that might be a bit strong.
So is it ever difficult for you to give or sell a piece of work because you liked it?
I'm not precious about any of the things I've made, but my wife has liked a few things and said, I want to keep hold of them. You know, there's a couple of pieces in the house that will remain in the house. Everything else is fair game. I don't ever really I won't sell stuff that I think is bad. So other people looking and go, what's wrong with it? I'm like, no, that's not good enough. Not at all, you know. But I've got the place that I work, we constantly sort of raising money as individuals and as a business for charity, and you can choose.
Yeah.
You've got an initiative, you can choose what charity that goes to. So my wife and I got charities that we donate to specifically, and there's a local one called Leeway, which is a sort of shelter for abuse victims, and then there's the local Dogs Trust. So we'll go there and give a load of stuff, but I donate a load of my mirrors that I make to my work. My work will then raffle them amongst everyone who works there, and then whatever funds are raised will go to Leeway or the Dogs Trust, whichever one at the time I say that I'd like that money to go to. So all of the ones that not necessarily, they're not things that are bad or anything like that, but they're things that if I say I'm not happy with it, no one else can see a problem with it. But I think if they're happy with it and they can buy a raffle ticket for £1 and win it, and then 100, 200 people do it, and you can raise £200, that £200 goes to a charity, that's an amazing way of getting rid of stuff that, ordinarily is either going to sit up against the wall or something. But yeah, there's always something, where I'll look at a finished piece and think, I'm not happy with that. But I mean, that's just the nature of it, I suppose, the nature of being.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no,
I just
no.
think it's important for people to hear that. And hearing it from you already has got me jazzed, because I look at my work and I'm like, oh, there's this, there's that. And so it's really good to hear that someone such as yourself, you feel the same way, you have those same kind of feelings.
And I think it's a good quality to have, because you're noticing something, and you might say that you're not artistic, but if you're
Yeah.
looking at something and you're noticing something wrong with it, that's artistic. Do you know what I mean? You're looking and seeing a flaw in something that could be better, and you
Right.
get something from it, knowing that your creative process is going to be better. Well, I think so anyway.
Yeah.
There are some people who have got a God-given talent, and there are some
Yeah.
people who have to put in a lot of effort to do something. I think I'm probably in the latter category, but only because, like, when I was young, I was obsessed with people being good at drawing, with people in my class and stuff like that. But I wasn't very good at drawing. I was drawing all the time and trying to draw pictures for people and for my mum, my dad, and my friends. And I was crap, when
Yeah.
but I got good because I really, really just wanted to be good at it. And then probably by the time I was like 12, 13, within my sort of class and school, I was recognised as being one of the better artists. And that was through perseverance. Do you know what I mean? That was because I wanted
Right.
to be. That weren't because I was
Sometimes-
born with a talent for art. So I think
Right.
it's difficult, obviously, as you get older, and some people will have a God-given talent, but you can learn it. There are rules. Like the one book I always recommend to everyone, that Layout by Mike Stevens.
Yeah.
Mastering
Mastering layout.
has got guidelines and instructions around how to make a nice sign, and it's amazing. Like no matter how good I might have got at drawing, when I then try and translate that to being a sign painter, you're like, I don't know anything about signs. I need to learn about it.
Well, that's good too. That you're, in your opinion, being a good artist is something you could learn. That you don't have to be.
I think there's always
Yeah.
going to be the people with the God-given talent will always excel, but you get that in everything, don't you? There'll be like people
Right.
who are naturally, genetically better at athletics, and then other people
Right.
train twice as hard as everyone else. And I think it's the same, but if you've got the desire and you're willing to learn from the kind of books and just practice and practice, then it's something you can learn, I think.
I have started to practice. I got some of the to try to do lettering and stuff, but this I feel would take years. I'm relying on technology.
You did the La Azora sign, didn't you? As one of your.
I did do La Azora, yes.
That's insane.
Yes,
That
I
is an
did.
advanced glass piece. That's an advanced bit of glass art. Like you can't sort of say that you're. I don't know. I know you're not saying that you're mediocre at this, but when I saw that you'd made that, I was blown away.
Really?
It's like that's nuts. I wasn't making stuff like that till about, I've been doing this for about 6-7 years. So the fact that you just jumped in like, right, I'm going to give it a go is amazing.
Everything I know or knew at that point, that came from you. I probably ruined, 100, like you said, $100 worth of glass, maybe more, before I was able to do that. But that's great to hear as well. I didn't realize that. To me, it looked like one of the easier ones. Certainly, I didn't want to jump into LaBelle.
No, but I mean, when we're talking about an easy one, that would be a real basic letter T or something. That's an easy one. Not something with all flourishes and blends and different leaves like that is. That, you jumped in at the deep end and you succeeded. It was amazing. So you should be proud of it. It was awesome. I couldn't believe it.
Well, that means a lot. It is one of my favorite ones. It's the ones with the least mistakes. I'm wondering what I know about the screen printing. I'm wondering what processes that you're kind of looking at and thinking of experimenting next. Oh, and the punties. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I saw Dave Smith with those big wheels, and then you came out with a drill, and I was like, yes, that is. I haven't tried it yet, but so I'm wondering what you're looking to experiment with next.
If I'm honest, I'm winging this in terms of what's coming next, and a lot of it will come from people will suggest something will come up in terms of something that's popular maybe. But
Yeah.
I have got a list. the only question so far I'm a bit stumped on, because every time an idea pops into my head, I add it to a list in a document that I've got on my phone. At the moment, that list's 2 pages long, so it'll be 2 Word pages long. So a list of videos, and then I'll go in once I made one and delete it, and then I'll get an idea and put them in. So some of those will be tiny techniques, you know, but others might be big ones. The screen printing is something I want to do as more of a big old workshop video. You know, like the Labelle Supreme video I did,
Yeah,
which is like
yeah, complete.
hour and 20 odd minutes long, or hour and 10 minutes, I can't remember. But
Yeah.
that was like a workshop, wasn't it? I want to do the screen
Yeah.
printing one similar to that. So it's like yeah, that's the only one I can think of what's going to be an extended long one. But the others, I've just got ideas. But yeah.
So you're experimenting and learning some of this as you go, just like we are. It sounds like some of it.
I would say 50% of the stuff on the channel I didn't know how to do till I made.
You would never guess. You would never guess that. I would never guess that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'd tested it before, and there's some I've thrown away. There's some videos where I was so certain it would work, and film it, and then get to the point of doing it, and like, oh, that don't work at all. It's just that away. Yeah.
I'm curious if you could do anything. What would be your dream project? Do you have like a dream project, or maybe a dream piece that it's just too big to conquer right now?
To be honest, and this it's a bit small fry, I suppose, but I'm a massive fan of all. I love old horror films, and old horror books. I love like the old sort of pulp horror from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to make the Camp Crystal Lake sign from Friday the 13th, and then a guy, one of the Facebook subscribers, followers, contacted me, and he made me a Jason Voorhees mask, and then sent me a vectorized version that he'd made of the Camp Crystal Lake sign, like a few weeks ago. So my next video that I'm currently making at the moment is me trying out a load of new techniques to make the Camp Crystal Lake sign, and that's
cool.
It's more. It might be underwhelming for people if they see something like the Labelle Supreme sign and think that's got all of the bells and whistles, you know, and this is just a you know, something that's going to have more basic techniques, no glue chipping or anything. But I don't know, I've always wanted a Camp Crystal Lake sign for my house, even from when I was a kid. So to make one, I'm a little bit excited about it.
Yeah, cool. Well, some of the basic stuff I like I don't have it here. I did about 5 of them until I got it right. But the piece you did, the wedding gift, that seemed pretty simple. With the etching and the gilt, and I did it. It came out beautiful. The person I gave to just absolutely loved it, and it was simple, but still beautiful, gorgeous, unbelievable.
There is a lot to be said for that, you know, in a thing where it can be easy to get a bit overwhelmed with the amount of ornament that is available, you know, and the fact that there's all these flourishes you can add.
Yeah.
Still an element of less is more with things, you know. If you want something that's simple and classy, you can do a single basic block serif letter with nothing but pure class, you know.
And it's beautiful still. It's beautiful, and people still wonder how you do that. So amazing. Yeah. I mean, you were talking about Dave and some of these other guys. I look at that stuff and I can't even imagine how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, Dave knows everything, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the type of acid etching, which, you know, the acid etching I know how to do is mixing like mica and creating stipple patterns, but the old school way, like sort of French embossing, I think it's called, where of the different tones of white of acid, you know, like you'll do a coat of acid and then mask off another area, do another coat. So like all these lovely, beautiful, different variations of white. And I haven't got a clue how you do it, but have you ever been to London? There's nothing like the pubs in London. Like no matter where you go in England, you won't find pubs like there are in London. And I've got these things, I've mentioned them before, they're called snob screens. And they basically were Victorian class dividers, which are like, you know, a bit of glass that said the posh people can sit this side and the peasants can sit this side, basically. a lot of these pubs have still got them, and they are the most amazing bits of glass you've ever seen in your life. All brilliant cut with these punties and all of these carved things, all these different tones of acid etching. Yeah, they're lost arts except for Dave. I think he's the only person in the country who knows how to do it all, you know.
Wow.
And I doubt
That's,
many people left in the world who know how to do it all. So
yeah. That's amazing. Well, I hope he has some live workshops. I messaged him. I think we're getting lost in the communication, but I'd love to come out there and take one of his live.
his face-to-face workshop is, I know that he does like the full 4-day one where you can learn all of that. So he does brilliant cutting, glue and acid etching, all of those sort of things. If you can get the time and you can afford it, it'll be the best money you'll ever spend. You'd love
Really?
it. And he's such a lovely bloke, you know, really well. His days as well. When I say you do a day course with Dave, I did a day course. He picked me up at 9 and he dropped me off at midnight, you know, and
wow,
that was solid, you know. And when I've seen the posts he makes, like the videos on Instagram of his 4-day course, they're still going at it at 2 in the morning. You know, he's got all his students there, and so they're, you know, like, I'm not very good at maths, but a lot longer than your average working day, you know, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 the next morning. But he just is so enthusiastic, you know. I could imagine, well, you'd imagine that someone that good and that might get complacent, but not him, you know. He's so enthusiastic with and hands-on with the way he teaches people. I think if you do get the opportunity, you'd love it.
I sure hope I do get that opportunity. And if I come out there, hopefully I can stop by Norwich and give you
definitely. Yeah, if you're ever out this way, definitely come and meet up. I've got a bar in my living room, so you come and have a pint in here.
Excellent. So I have a few more questions. Do you have time? I don't want to overstay my welcome.
I should. I've got a little bit of my missus should be home in about 10 minutes. Would that be all right, do you reckon?
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate the time you've given me already. I really do.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. You know, it's lovely speaking to you, and I'd love to, carry on as long as we can go.
Do you know of FESPA? And have you ever considered entering anything into FESPA?
Sorry, what was that? Vespa?
The FESPA Awards?
No, I've never heard of it.
So the piece that I did, the last piece that I showed on your group, I was actually trying to copy Eric Winkler from Shitterand. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
He did the Stella
Artois, the great big glue chip silver piece, yeah.
So he did that like 2 years ago. So the last piece I did for Level Up, I was trying to copy what he did, basically imitate him, because he won an award called FESPA. I've never heard of this FESPA award, but apparently they give it out for media printing and things like that, and he won sign category. So I'd never heard of it before. I wondered if you'd heard of it and if you'd ever considering entering anything like that.
No, I've never. To be honest, I don't know a lot about the trade I'm in. You know, like when I set this up from my house, like I've said to you before, I've never done on-site jobs. I do all my commissions from my house, so there's a lot going on. I've never attended any of the letterheads events, you know, where all the sign writers get together. There was even one in Norwich, but I mean at the time I was worker, so I couldn't make it. But I'm a little bit out of the loop with anything.
So I noticed you were in the States, maybe Wisconsin. Were you in Wisconsin?
Yeah. I used to work in Green Bay. I haven't been there since I started the group, but we'd set up studios and then run them and train the photographers. And I set one up. Well, I say I did. Our team set one up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I went out there. And then it turned out the sort of demands of the client on the studio were sort of going up and up. So I was out there for 1 year. I was out there for 8 months. So I was in Green Bay for 8 months of a year, and became a bit of a Wisconsinite. Like
you like the cheese, of course.
Of course, yeah. Cheese curds, amazing. Yeah, the Packers, the Brewers. Yeah.
Was that the first time in the state?
No, well. We started the job in California, and then I did a little bit of a stint in Nevada, in Reno, but that was only for like bits at a time. But the job in Green Bay was one which took up a lot of my time. Yeah, I almost had a life there.
I ask you if you have a network of other artists, but obviously you do because you run the group. So I feel like that's kind of a silly question. Do you have like a group maybe you get together with or meet with that's a little more personal that isn't the Facebook group?
So I only got the Facebook group because of the channel. Like I'm
Yeah.
not on social media, and if you've seen
Oh,
my Facebook profile, you'll see that I've never posted anything on my
yeah.
profile. Like I just post on the group and respond to posts on the group. So
Right.
you know, whenever I go out to America, we're still photographers. We all met as photographers. I'll take my camera gear and we'll go on missions to try and find places that are good to take photos. But yeah, in terms of, I haven't got any sort of groups of artists who get together outside of the one that is on
Right.
the Facebook community.
How useful has the social media been for you in getting commissions, paid work? I watched your other video. I know you place things in maybe tattoo shops. You mentioned that.
I be honest, I don't do commissions. I turn most of them down. It's
Oh,
not something I enjoy doing. I have done in the past, like that was how I got money through doing glass art. But since I've set up the channel, firstly, I haven't really got time because I do work. Now I'm not working full time, but I've got a job that takes up 3 days of the week. The YouTube channel takes up the other two, so I make a video
yeah.
Thursdays and Fridays, and then sort of edit it. But yeah, I don't really enjoy doing commissions. It's not. I used to, but I don't anymore. Like, I don't like the
Okay.
pressure of it. Ever since I've been doing the channel, and that's kind of giving more of an outlet to be able to do what I want to do, and because I don't need to do them, it's kind of that sort of thing of taking on a job that potentially is going to have a time frame that's going to stress me out because for a wedding and I've got to get it done in 2 weeks, and then something happens, and it's not to say I won't do them. If it's the right one, I'll do it. If something comes along and it's for something that I feel passionate enough about to do it, or it's the right job that I think, yeah, that's going to be a lovely job to do. But in general, I tend to turn most of them down. I'm not, yeah, it's not.
But you get them, right? That's good, right?
People ask, and I tend to see if I can direct them in or point them in the direction of someone who could do the job or would be.
Sure. Well, let me ask you one more question because I know you said you only had about 10 minutes. What is your most memorable response to a piece of art you created, either good or bad?
Oh man, that's a good one. I don't know. I have had some absolutely incredible responses, which I think you probably will understand having shown people stuff in real life.
Yeah.
Showing someone a Facebook photo or something like that.
It's amazing how different it is.
Yeah, and I think
You really can't tell. You really don't know from the pictures.
no, there's no way of capturing it. The only way I can ramble on a bit, but one thing I could never believe until I saw it was the Grand Canyon. And we went to the Grand Canyon while we were working in California. We went there for Memorial Day weekend. And when I saw it with my own eyes, my initial thought was, this has never ever been captured on film or photograph properly. Like, you can't get the vastness of it without just standing and looking over the edge of it. It's the most incredible thing ever. And I know that's quite a bold statement when we're then comparing it to a piece of glass art, but I do think when you show someone something and give it to them in their hands, I've never had a reaction where someone said it looks better in the pictures. They always it's so much nicer than I could have ever thought it would be. So yeah, I haven't had any bad responses. I suppose because I'm quite particular when we're working over the process. The design process has to be signed off properly before I'll start doing any work. It's a back and forth. Are you liking this? Do you want to change anything? And then it's me getting to work, and I'll post updates of it and stuff like that. So they know it's not going to be a kind of thing of, right, I've told him what I want and he's going to come to me with something and I'm going to not know what it is. So
Right.
people know what they're going to be getting, but then when they see it in the flesh, so far everyone's been overwhelmed with how better it is in the flesh than in the
Yeah. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. You were my entry into this whole thing, and it's made a real. I think I'm a little bit of a different person being introduced to this and finding an outlet to be artistic. So I certainly appreciate you, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the world, us, right? Anybody who joins. It's really an amazing thing, and I sincerely appreciate it. And hopefully someday I will get to England and I can buy you a pint in person.
No, well, it's my pleasure as well, mate. It's lovely speaking to you, and yeah, I'd love to do it again anytime.
Okay.
So amazing to see the work you're doing, and really, really.
I really appreciate that. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend.
You too, mate. It's my pleasure, and yeah, have a good one, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Talk to you later. Cheers.
Bye, mate.